Nashville strong? Nashville strong. Preds lose 3-1 to the Minnesota Wild. After the heartbreaking footage came out Monday night of the tornado and the storms that came along with it after the Oilers game, you would have hoped, after seeing the aftermath Tuesday morning when the sun came up, that the team would step up for its city and maybe a little bit for itself in its first game since. But fans and outside observers who would have hoped to have seen that were disappointed with the team's effort and result tonight in Minnesota. And with 16 games left to go in the regular season, I just don't think this team has much left in the tank. I'll talk about the game honestly, but I'm not going to yell, because last night showed at times like this there is more important things in this world than the game of hockey, as much as we may love it so. Moment of silence before puck drop out of respect to the memory of those who lost their lives Monday night due to the tornado that hit Nashville and the surrounding areas. Preds with some good pressure early in this one, as under a minute in, Fabro has a great chance to open the scoring, but his shot hits the post and stays out. Ultimately, though, it would be the Wild who would open the scoring, as the Preds continue their pattern carrying over from Monday of not covering the front of the net and leaving their goalie under more pressure to stop shots, and naturally they can't when there's no defenseman there to clean the slot up, as Luke Kunin gets the puck and opens the scoring for the Wild, and it's 1-0. Later, Minnesota would have a 2-on-1, and it's Kevin Fiala, the former Pred, as you all are well aware, who keeps the puck and does a sweet dangle move to beat Saros and make it 2-0 Wild. The season that Kevin Fiala is having with the Wild this year is truly remarkable. If only Kevin had been giving this same effort and producing this much as he is this year with Minnesota, Poile never would have had to have traded him last year. First period ends with the Wild up 2-0, outshooting the Preds 12-6. That is definitely not the start you want if you're a Preds player, member of the organization, or a fan. Second period, Minnesota continues to outwork the Preds. No goals would ultimately be scored in that second period, but my goodness, the penalties. It would take me longer than the average time it takes me to describe goals scored in the average Preds game if I was to list off every single one of the penalties called in that second period. What is with NHL officiating this season? You all remember the Preds Oilers game a few weeks back in Edmonton, right? The goalie interference against Colorado on Saturday, and then there's tonight. Don't get me wrong, the Preds ultimately lost this game on their own lack of effort. But when the ref games like this one tonight, it ultimately ruins the flow of the game. Just over 2 minutes remaining in the second period, the Wild have a great chance to make it 3-0 and all but put this game away before the final 20, but Ryan Ellis is there to save the day and knock the puck off of the line. And Ryan Hartman, former Pred for those who are new here. Bud, what was with that vicious slash on RV with just under a minute to go in the period? Dear God, the Preds would get a lot more shots production on Stalock of the Wild in that second period, but again, they just couldn't execute as they trail 2-0 after 40 minutes. Wild don't have any quit in them tonight, as they can smell the playoffs, and Parisi makes it 3-0 Wild a minute and a half into the final frame. Preds have a little bit of fight back in them, as just after a penalty is called on the Wild, 5 minutes into the period, Craig Smith knocks a puck down and scores past Stalock to cut the lead to 3-1. Despite ultimately losing the game, congratulations goes out to Captain Roman Josi, who gets an assist on that Craig Smith goal, getting .62 of the season, a career high for him, and also a franchise record for points by a defenseman in a season. At one point earlier in the game, the Preds were being outshot by the Wild by as much as 20-7, and since then are now outshooting the Wild 24-7. But that ultimately means nothing, as I have said to you, the viewer, so many times this season, if you are not burying your chances. Turris gets a breakaway with about 5 minutes left in regulation, but Stalock makes the save. Just under 2 minutes left to go in regulation. The Preds are on the power play in the Wild zone and are finally creating some sustained pressure that maybe earlier in the game would result in a goal, but the Wild clamp down defensively and the Preds get a chance, but it hits the post and stays out. The Preds would pressure the Wild until the final whistle, but it's too late. Final in this one is Minnesota 3, Nashville 1. Terrible night off and on the ice for the Preds tonight. Preds don't show up for the first 40 minutes of the game, and it ultimately cost them the game when they needed it so badly in the standings. As for the standings, Minnesota with this win overtakes them in the standings, as well as Winnipeg, who also won, and Chicago wins too to narrow the gap that they are trailing the Preds by. Some teams thrive in the face of adversity. One only needs to think of what the Saints did after Hurricane Katrina. If this team has any will left within them that wants to make the playoffs, Thursday night versus Dallas inside Bridgestone Arena is a must win. Otherwise, I think I'm finally going to officially join Team Tank and hope for a decent lottery pick. Now, quick bit on the Nashville disaster relief effort. I'll post both of the links I'm about to mention in the description box below, but those who wish to volunteer their time towards the effort can go to Hands On Nashville at HON.org. And for those who would wish to donate their money instead, can go to the Middle Tennessee Emergency Response Fund at CFMT.org. So that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. As always, hit like if you like this video, hit subscribe if you really like it. You can find my social media links by clicking on the channel name. And Nashville, this Canadian is praying for you all.